Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with, yes, from Eloquence, Antal Dorati, the, stereo recordings on Mercury Living Presence, the Minneapolis stereo recordings. Now, I know some of you took umbrage at the fact that this does not include all of the stereo Mercuries, like the ones he did with Philharmonia Ungarica and the London Symphony particularly, which means some things like the Brahms cycle and whatnot are going to get split up between the two. We are hoping Eloquence will be able to do the rest, at least the rest of the Mercury ones. Of course, Decca should do its own Dorati edition, which would be like, well, they've done Detroit, so they could do more. Anyway, the bottom line with this is that they couldn't get the LSO recordings because Decca owns this stuff. You understand? And Decca may want to do the LSO stuff. It's up in the air from what I understand. I am so hoping Decca gives Cyrus in Australia permission to do the rest of the Mercuries because he's doing such a beautiful job with the series. And he really ought to be allowed to finish it. And what's more, he will do it right. That we know, as he has done here. My only quibble is this thing, the box thing where you could kill yourself. It slides out here. You got to be a little careful in the way you store it, because that doesn't really work. Well, you could do it this way, I suppose, like that. Anyway, we've got 30 discs in here. Some of these are remakes from the mono years. Some of them have been newly remastered for CD. Some of them appear on CD for the first time. So let's have a look and see what we get. Whoa, yes, off comes the top without doing any damage to myself or my foot. And let's see, should we do it by cover or should we do it by booklet? The booklet, as usual, contains a couple of really nice essays, one on Dorati's tenure in Minneapolis. Then there's Thomas Fine, Wilma Cozart and Robert Fine's son doing the stereography or whatever they call it, sessionography about the actual recording sessions and how and when they were recorded and what gets mastered where. And there's also an interview here of Dorati with Dennis Rooney that was languishing on some tape somewhere in a cave and was rediscovered and edited down and stuck on here. So there's a lot of juicy stuff to talk about. Let us begin. What do we got here? Oh, yes. You know what? I had better do it just to make sure I don't leave anything out from the booklet, from the track listing. It makes more sense to do it that way. Okay, CD 1, a 31-minute CD. Well, they're all original, whatevers. Bartók's Second Suite. Now, the Bartók Second Suite was as good as unknown when Dorati made this recording. It's a lovely work. And he only was able to do the first suite later for Decca, which is in the Detroit box. So that's there. Yes. And it's nice to have that. I mean, his Bartók was always very persuasive, very sort of lean and mean. I mean, it later, it became subject to a lot of competitive pressure from people like Fritz Reiner and then Schulte and all that stuff, but it still holds its own rather well. Richard Strauss, Dorati's own suite from Der Rosenkavalier, 23 minutes long. Really good. I mean, it's a wonderful suite. It's beautiful. And Till Eulenspiegel's Not So Merry Prankies. That's a bubbling little jeu d'esprit, and it's all over it. 14 minutes. I love the tempos. Oh, yeah. And there's Finster chomping on one of her, crunchy toys. Kodai, CD3, Hariano Suite, and the Bartók Hungarian Sketches, full of bubbly personality, and lovely, absolutely lovely. Then Johann Strauss, too, Johann Strauss, too, stuff, which is fine. The Bartók Violin Concerto No. 2 with Yehudi Menuhin. This is a very fine performance and quite different sounding from his more famous recording with Furtwängler. That's on EMI. But it's good to have both of them. It really is. I never really cared for this concerto particularly. I think it's all kind of dry and bony. But it's good that they did it, and other people love it. So I what can I say? Beethoven, the Eroica. Oh, my goodness, a zippy, lovely Eroica with a really good finale, I have to say. The sound of the Minneapolis Symphony, especially as recorded by Mercury in Northrop Auditorium, which everybody hated, they called it the place where sounds go to die, is an acquired taste. It has that that unbelievable transparency and really justness of balance, probably, I would say. I don't know what it sounded like there. I was never there. But these recordings, you know, are of a special type. They have a personal sort of brand sound to them. And, you know, whether you like it or not in Beethoven, it really sounds like nice, edgy Beethoven, I think. Anyway, Rossini overtures. Oh, yeah, La Cazza Ladra, La Scala di Seta, La Cenerentola, Il Barbiere di Siviglia, La Italiana in Algerie, and Il Signor Bruschino. Yay. Lots of fun. And then we've got Offenbach, Gaieté Parisienne, and Strauss's Graduation Ball, 26-minute-long ballet, which was arranged by none other than Maestro Dorati. I mean, he did a lot of stuff. He was a composer, by the way, as you will see in a moment. And then, oh, CD9, this is wonderful. Albani's Iberia, orchestrated by Arbos, and the interlude and dance from La Vida Breve. This is fun. This is always a wonderful, wonderful disc of stuff. I mean, you know, music at that point that wasn't that well known. I don't know of that many other versions from this period. I mean, these were all recorded by like 1960, between 1955-ish and 1960. They started recording in stereo around 55. Stereo LPs didn't come out until like 58, but they wanted to have stuff in the catalog to be ready to be released. And then we've got the Brahms second. It's a very zippy Brahms second, 37 minutes. Well, I mean, it has no repeats, of course, but I like Dorati's Brahms. It's no bullshit Brahms. It really is. It's just very, very straightforward and knock 'em, sock 'em Brahms. Then we've got another Strauss disc with other things, with other Strausses besides Johann Strauss too. And yes, CD12. Now we start getting to some of the Dorati specialty repertoire. Copland, Rodeo, El Salon Mexico, the Danzón Cubano. These are really fine performances. I mean, Dorati was a Copland expert because he was a ballet expert, and it's contemporary, and he was great at it, and it's lean sonorities that he really dug into. Marvelous. And also, you get an American in Paris, a very exciting performance of that in 16 minutes and 5 seconds. Yeah, I love an American in Paris when you do it in less than 18 minutes. It sounds wonderful, but it needs to have that pep. Here it has pep. Lots of pep. Yeah. Delibes, the complete Coppelia. Fabulous stuff. Oh, it's so beautiful. I love Coppelia. I mean, I love Delibes. We talk about this, right? I mean, it's just got the most wonderful tunes. I mean, and the mazurka. Oh, my God. I mean, it goes round and around 100 times. You could listen to it 500 times. It's one of the great tunes ever. And the piece is just full of gorgeous music. Dorati conducts the daylights out of it. Tchaikovsky. Well, here it is, the famous disc of the 1812 Overture and the Capriccio Italien, which is available still on Mercury Living Present Stereo. It's never been out of print. It's the ultimate 1812 Overture with the real cannons and the bells and the brass bands and everything going crazy. It's still the greatest ever. It's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And then the Dvorak Slavonic dances. Now, this is original couplings. So they all came out on one CD. This is great Slavonic dances, by the way. It's marvelous. It's, again, full of that liveliness and gusto that the best of these performances all have. The original, I mean, the first CD release had all 16 of them. This breaks them up over 2 CDs for no reason, because they're 45 minutes on one disc and 42 minutes on the other. But you do get the Bartered Bride stuff, the Overture, Polka, Furient, and Dance of the Comedians, as the filler to the second disc, which contains the last 6 Slavonic dances of Opus 72. And otherwise, the Smetana stuff, I don't think ever came out on CD, or if it did, I never saw it. So yeah, it's good to have. I can't complain about it. Rimsky-Korsakov, a great Scheherazade. Oh, it's a great Scheherazade. This is vivid, visceral, picture postcard, phenomenal Scheherazade. Absolutely lovely. With no dawdling, and just vivid, and it just leaps out of the speakers. It's tremendous. The violin soloist, by the way, is Raphael Druian, who was just amazing. So that's great. Then we've got another Tchaikovsky disc, the March Slav, Eugene Onegin orchestral stuff, and Francesca da Rimini. And yeah, 22 minutes. See, it sounds so good when you don't just drool over it. It's exciting. It's amazing to hearing today's Francescas, which are so just droopy, droopy dull, and this one, which is so much more exciting. Oh, God, it's great. Then we've got Strauss, Don Juan, and Tod und Verklärung. These are, they're not the most sexy Strauss performances, but they are, like I said, take no prisoner, zippy. And so, I enjoy them. But I can't say that these are the best played or really competitive with the best Strauss recordings out there these days. And then, Reiner showed up for Don Juan and set a whole new standard. And, so, okay, they're all right. Stravinsky, Petrushka, first rate. This is Dorati's virgin territory. Mussorgsky pictures in an exhibition. Well, he always did that well. And the Chovanshchina Prelude and Dance of the Persian Slaves. Those are fun. And it's fun to hear these things in Mercury Living Presence sound, quite frankly. It just is. Bloch, Ernest Bloch, the Sinfonia Breve, one of his most modernistic and harsh pieces, played to a fare thee well. With Wayne Peterson's Free Variations for Orchestra, a Detroit commission. He was a Pulitzer Prize-winning composer. And it's a very interesting work. Definitely something to listen to. And then CD 24. See how fast we're moving through this? It just flies. Prokofiev, Symphony No. 5. I never liked this Prokofiev Fifth. I just think it's too fast. Especially in the first movement. It just needs more weight, more power, more tam-tam, lots of things, basically. It's not bad. It's really not bad. And it's vivid, like all of these things are. But it just doesn't have that down and dirty Russian power that you're looking for. So, what can I tell you? And then we've got The Rite of Spring, which is very exciting. It's Dorati's first and most exciting recording of that. I think it's his first. Maybe it's his second. Who knows? He did it a lot. And it's marvelous. And then we have on CD 26, Dorati's own symphony. Symphony composed in 1957. He composed a lot of music. This is a genuinely sort of Hungarian-ish work, a sort of homage to Bartók and Kodály and those people. It's less tonal than any of those things. It's rather harmonically acerbic. I enjoyed listening to it. I don't think it's a great work, and I don't think I'll be playing it all that often, but I can't complain. It's here. And then we have, let's see, as Nocturne, also Dorati's Nocturne and Capriccio for oboe and string quartet, which is nice to have with the Allegri string quartet, actually, which was recorded. Where was it recorded? Does it say where it was recorded? Location, Northrop Auditorium, and in the UK, of course, yes. And then a bonus, there's the interview with Dorati, of which I spoke earlier. CD 27, Günter Schuller, 7 Studies on Themes of Paul Klee. That's a very, very interesting third wave, dodecaphonic, partly jazzy, sort of orchestral effusion, which apparently was very well received at its premiere. Now I think it sounds rather dated. But they did it. They were enterprising, along with Paul Fettler's Contrasts for Orchestra, which is really a mini symphony in 4 movements, an Allegro, Adagio, Scherzo, and Allegro Marziale. Definitely fun. These were all released before on Mercury Living Presence, so some of you may already have them, but it's good to have this stuff. And Rachmaninoff, Piano Concerto No. 2, the first Byron Janis recording on Mercury. And exciting it was, and is, and remains, with 2 preludes in addition, including the prelude in C-sharp minor, which is the only Rachmaninoff prelude I ever played. That doesn't recommend it to you. I understand that, but I did play it. Sort of. Kind of. And finally, let's see, well, it's not quite finally, Respighi, The Pines and Fountains of Rome, famous Respighi recordings. Again, they've sort of been outclassed, in the decades since, but they're fun to listen to and reminisce about and schmooze, and they're certainly not bad. They're fast and brilliant. And lastly, on CD 30, The Magic of the Bells. This is a carillon recital from the Laura Spielman Rockefeller Memorial Carillon at the Riverside Church in New York City. It was recorded at the same time as the carillon in the Tchaikovsky 1812 Overture. They sort of were there. So the carillonneur, who is Camille Lefebvre, did a carillon recital. So you've got like dozens of hymn tunes and things like that. They're all hymn tunes, and there's 16 of them here. And they recorded them, which was nice of them. And now it's getting its first CD release. So there you go. The Dorati Stereo Minneapolis Mercury Living Presence Legacy. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Awfully nice to have. It's fun and it's brilliant, and I can only be sentimental about these things. It's almost as if the recording quality, the interpretations don't matter. They do. They're good. They're of a type. They're of their era. They're typical of Dorati, a great conductor. And, you know, he turned the Minneapolis Symphony into a marvelous orchestra, whence it has not declined. His successor, remember, was Stanislav Skrovatchevsky, who also made some lovely Mercury Living Presence recordings, mostly concertos, but there are some others. And, you know, I'm happy to have it, so happy to have it. And you will be too, while it lasts. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.